A bit of background, I work for Willis, Watson. Some of you may be familiar with our company, a big consulting firm. We consult on insurance and human capital and benefits. Excuse me. What I do is I lead our future of work practice in human capital and benefits. Essentially what that means is we work with clients to understand this new wave of automation. What does that mean for the business? How should they strategize around human resources and processes and business transformation? So what I'd like to do is spend the next few minutes with you on a much broader theme, if you like, rather than the very technological sort of focused narrative that we've just heard. Very valuable. I've got so many questions, by the way, I'm going to follow up with you. And the theme that I'd like to sort of explore with you is change. Okay? This big story about this new change that's taking place because of this new wave of automation that seems to be very successful in doing stuff that traditionally has been reserved for human beings, like for example recognizing images, even doing strategic thinking. I mean, if you think about the very advanced forms of machine learning as AlphaGo, for example, okay, strategizing for a specific goal and outcome. So what does that change mean at the macro level, and how does that translate into challenges that businesses are faced with? It's going to work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at the macroeconomic level, you'll hear economists sort of discussing and debating this new wave of automation in terms of two main effects and phenomena. One they term as the displacement effect, and essentially what that means is when a new wave of technology is coming into the economy, it displaces people, it displaces jobs essentially. Okay. And the other phenomenon that they refer to is the so-called compensation or income effect. So that means that once those jobs have been displaced, the ones that are left are jobs of a higher premium, therefore they're paid better, and therefore people have more disposable income. They feed that income back to the economy, creating demand for new work. And that's how the economy balances itself out in the medium to long term, giving a big technological disruption. So this is the narrative at the macroeconomic level. But those two effects, the displacement and the compensation effect, actually reflect at the enterprise level as well. And that's the kind of work that we do with our clients. Like for example, what does displacement effect mean for an enterprise? It means redesigning jobs, essentially. Right? So we see, for instance, a number of tasks, okay, that are readily automated by existing technology, especially sort of tasks that have very little variability, they're very constant, very rules-based, they're repetitive, tedious, tasks that actually people hate doing, to be honest. For example, recurring communications, okay, sending an email again and again, or booking a room, or stuff like that, okay, or taking an email, picking things up, importing from the email, and populating a CRM system. So we see scope there for automation in specific tasks, which means that there will be some kind of displacement in terms of how the job changes. Okay. So this is really important for organizations because they tend to hire according to jobs, which are very sort of monolithic things made out of many multiple tasks. And what they realize with this new wave of automation is they have to sort of completely forget the concept of job and start thinking around skills and around tasks, which is a completely new way of thinking around human capital. So what we are doing with our clients, we help them redesign jobs, understand how to classify tasks in terms of tasks that are susceptible to automation as opposed to tasks that are more sort of high value and should be left with the humans, and therefore start building strategies around this transformation. And this is where this sort of the compensation, if you like, effect kind of reflects on the enterprise. So if you have this disruption in terms of tasks and automation, what does that mean for your workforce? And essentially what that means is, well, principally one thing. It's all about reskilling the workforce. It's all about rethinking what people's skills should be. So we're working a lot in trying to sort of understand what are the valuable skills for the future. For instance, you guys talked about the data scientist and the data engineer and the DevOps. Okay, these are sort of very obvious tasks. Okay, but these are very sort of technology-based tasks. That are sort of you'll find them in your IT department. But what about the rest of the organization? Especially when people need to come together and have mixed teams in order to solve business problems. Obviously, you won't need people in the marketing department becoming a data scientist, but you do need a very essential business skill across the whole organization, understanding what potentially machine learning is. So this is the new kind of skills that organizations need, and this provides a number of challenges in companies. Like, for example, we worked with a bank that is decided to limit down the number of high street offices that they had. That meant a reduction in the number of tellers and that served customers. So we worked with them to rethink what they were trying to do as they were trying to become more digital. And we've discovered that in order for them to become digital, the experience that people had at the front desk when serving customers was extremely valuable. It should not be lost. I.e., not just reduce the numbers of those people, but perhaps retrain those people as product owners, into Scrum teams, and therefore bring that expertise, but obviously reskill them with new skills. So you leverage that expertise into how you develop your new digital products. So reskilling pathways is a very, very important thing when organizations try to think how they're going to change in the future. But there's another thing as well that I'd like to sort of mention to you that is also important. So it's not a linear progression. It's not that this new technologies come in, and essentially what we need to do is, figure out how to upgrade our IT infrastructure, maybe reskill a few people, and off we go. It's a much more profound change than that. And, the words customer experience, customer engagement have been mentioned again and again, and they are, in fact, the main theme of digital transformation. Companies change and become more digital because they need to respond to continuously changing customer reality. Okay? And that means you need to be data driven, but it also means you have to have a completely different business organization. So it's an organizational design issue as well. So we see with our clients sort of trying to move from the typical sort of hierarchical silo models that they have, okay, to something that is more akin to what we would recognize as a platform. Like a platform organization, like for example, Netflix is, or other organizations are. Okay. Essentially, what that means is that the company does not do things, but it provides the environment for people to do things. It allows people's innovation, creativity to create new and interesting products. So this is a completely different way of managing people, hiring people, employing people. I'm just going to mention one of the challenges.
So you have 5 minutes actually.
5 minutes, fine. So one of the challenges that companies have is what we call speedy capability. Okay. So if you really want to become, let's say, sort of a very competitive bank with new products and new releases and, of your digital products, then you may discover that you need a certain number of high-skilled professionals in order to achieve that. That are very expensive. Okay. And technology can go so far in actually leveraging how much human power you need, but at the end of the day, you need to hire a bunch of people. So we worked, for example, with a company, a very well-known software company in the States that had this particular problem. They wanted to scale up the machine learning capability, and they figured out that they wanted around 2,000 data scientists to hire. It's an enormous number, right? And so what we did with them, we did a couple of things. Okay. First of all, we helped them really understand the skills that already existed in the organization. For example, if somebody is an R programmer or a Python programmer, he may not self-identify as a data scientist, but is someone that you can very easily transform into a data scientist. And you'll be amazed, and you're probably not going to be amazed, to be told that most big organizations don't really know what sort of skills exist inside the silos. So we help them sort of build a taxonomy of skills and a way to search for those skills in order to leverage the existing talent in their organization. And the second thing that we did for them is use machine learning, actually, use a machine learning product to affect that platform mentality. I.e., okay, say I am a product manager or a project manager, I want to do a project, right? How do I find the right talent? And what we did was by implementing what a technology called talent platform. Essentially what that means is a place where, as a product manager or a project manager, you go in, you describe your project, and the platform brings up people who have the right skills to fill the roles that you need in order to deliver that project. Okay, it's a matching, if you like, of skills and requirements. But what's interesting about this talent platform is that the people that are being brought up for you to consider are not full-time employees necessarily. There's a mixture. Some are full-time employees, some are contractors. So this new mixture between full-time employees and contractors is another emerging thing, because the companies want to increase that speed of capability, very quickly find the talent that they need. Sometimes that talent is in a short term or a contract term, and that creates a new, if you like, set of challenges when it comes to, for example, rewarding people, right? And that's a big cultural problem as well. I'm working with a big insurer in Canada is undergoing this transformation. One of the key cultural issues is all about performance measurement and reward. For example, in the old world, in the pre-sort of platform world, your performance was measured and you were rewarded on an individual level. Okay. In the new world, it's the team that's important. Okay. It's all about teams. But that mindset transition from an individual performance measurement to a team performance measurement is enormous, especially when there's not enough trust in an organization. So you can have all the technology you want, okay, which is absolutely essential, of course, but unless you have in place the right leadership in order to drive this change, which is mostly cultural and organizational, most of the ambitions that companies have to serve the customers will be doomed to failure. So let me pause here, so we may get some time for question and answer.
Yeah.
But essentially, that's what I wanted to present you with. Some of those challenges that organizations have that go beyond the technology and have very much to do with the strategy around the organization and obviously around the human capital management.
Cool. First up though, let's all get up and have a quick stretch. Come on, we've been sat down for a while now. We're also getting that back door open just to get a bit of fresh air in here. Cool. Well, to start, one question I've got. Oh, Mark?
I was going to ask, in financial services in particular, where buying a team is the norm, how do you change that culture? It's extremely difficult. I mean, what are you pointing your Canadians to? Or maybe some societies, I lived in Japan for 12 years, obviously, the whole team ethic there is hard baked into the DNA of the culture, but not in the Anglo-Saxon world.
So it's a very good question, right? How do you do the change? First of all, you have the vision. Secondly, you have, the leadership has the vision about change. And secondly, there are, if you like, tested approaches and methodologies of what change will look like. Like, for example, ING is changing itself as a scaled agile organization. It's breaking down the silos, it's creating what they call squads, sort of mixed agile teams, working in a sort of cloud-native microservices environment, and so on and so forth. This is a model as you scale agile, for example, that some of the companies we know are trying to adopt. Now, within that framework of change, within that framework of scaling agile, there are certain tools and approaches on how you measure performance. The most sort of common one is what is called OKRs, objectives and key results, which is a key methodology of rethinking how you measure performance. So the tools are there, and I think what the challenge for leadership is to take those tools and translate them into meaningful interventions into their own organization. Meaning if I take, for example, the OKR methodology, right? I take out the manual. How do I apply that into my culture? How do I build the right communications and the right win-wins, if you like? So people get it, that it's much better in the new world to be part of that team. There's much more for you to win. There's more opportunity perhaps for you to advance your career, if you like, by acquiring more skills rather than waiting in the same position X number of years in the hope that you'll advance your career. So how do you help your employees actually improve the wellness as well in this new organization? So tools, methodologies, and leadership in translating that into something meaningful for the particular culture. I think that would be the high-level recipe. Please.
Obviously, a lot of fintech, banking, insurance is quite a hierarchical world. People do a lot of drudge work essentially at the beginning of their career in order to climb up the ladder and then reap those benefits later when they get more senior. It seems to me that an awful lot of innovation potentially threatens that hierarchy. You talk about repurposing jobs into skills and talents. That could break frameworks that people have really been focused on for a long time.
Yeah.
Certainly from what we're seeing, a lot of companies talk a great deal about innovation, but actually struggle dramatically to get any of that innovation through the front line, people are actually operating. you say to those companies whose leadership is intellectually interested, and economically interested in innovation, but who really struggle to actually get stakeholders to move because they frankly don't want to?
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. So we have a tradition of professions and professional sort of disciplines, like, for example, auditors, lawyers, engineers, you name it, right? And there's a path, you know, it starts at the university, then you go into your professional sort of accreditation, there are certain sort of skills that you need to have, there's certain sort of, you know, drudgery work that you need to do once you, you know, engage with a company, start your career in order to learn. So this is a model that's been severely disrupted, as you rightly say, okay? And I think it calls for a massive rethink across the board. It's not just a matter, in my opinion, of businesses. It is, of course, but it's also our educational system. It's also about professional societies, understanding that the professions are changing. So, for example, if you're a lawyer, right, and I know many lawyers who are proud not to have any technical knowledge. They feel proud about that, okay? I think that is wrong in the world, and I think that perhaps the future sort of graduates from law school will have some very deep technical skills as well, because what they will be doing in those new law offices will be very different, significantly different from what people are doing nowadays at the law office. So it's not. I don't have the answer, obviously, right? But perhaps I can help us think about how we can find an answer, right? It's through, if you like, a collaboration between all those actors in society to do that. Now, when it comes to, but that might take time, okay? That obviously may take time, and businesses don't have time. So what can businesses do? I think business can take the initiative, and I've seen that in many professional services, especially in consulting, for example, right? And even in auditing, in even sort of very sort of rigid, sort of traditional subjects such as this, where leaders understand that they have to retrain and reskill their graduates into doing other stuff rather than the stuff that they themselves used to do when they were their age. Right? So I don't know if I answered somewhat, but these are sort of the angles, if you like, that one should take into start tackling this huge issue.
Yeah, we participated in a use case with a large tax consultancy, and what they were looking for was, could they remove the burden on the senior auditors. And so we were looking at a particular piece of tax legislation, and what they were looking at was, at the same time as being able to train a model that would be able to lift and apply some of this